great. And we come back with like, well, you have to pick your partition key carefully. And it used to be this way. You know, you like Swift, you could really understand the storage engine was doing, is how you had to, you're really limited in how you have the data in the API. By no means am I advocating for thrift. I'm just saying it's more transparent to the developer when you came in there like A equal B. And so we're back to this point where like, pick your shard key carefully. Now, I've heard that before. Where have I heard that? That's what I've heard. And we used to like make fun of these people. Now we're in the same boat where you gotta like, oh, we have to pick your partition key to be a certain thing. You gotta cluster the right way. It's like, that's a great technical solution, but users don't understand that. They just don't, and they aren't. And this is, we're seeing the majority of data modeling issues around this. And that's, you know, I don't want to fix this, but it's an issue. Bulk inserts, same thing. You have to tune a lot of knobs to get this to go fast with the drivers. There's a lot of good technical reasons for that. I'm not going to argue that with anybody. But again, with the thrift and the way we used to do things, being able to do large shaped inserts was really stupid easy, and there was no mystery because you could see like the arrays coming in from thrift and just hit the disk more or less after validation. There was no like turning off batch inserts and doing like making sure you put your reads in the same partition, you get higher performance, or put your mutations in the same partition, you get higher performance and store procedures or prepare statements. So there's too many things to adjust for users to be able to do this efficiently. And there's too many knobs to turn. People aren't understanding it. It takes like this is great because like I put my other hat on, I make a lot of money on this. Like so, let's in that sense, we can keep doing it because I'll continue to charge per hour to help people fix the same problems. But I don't like seeing this because when somebody does that, they never come and it's like, oh, it's so much easier with system X because I got it. I don't know what to tell them. More trade, we can never have enough tracing options. Like the stuff that's there is really good, and that was like a huge benefit when we got it. But like the more we can do like the Zipkin integration that my colleague Nick has been working on, we can visually lay this stuff out and see like ladder diagrams of like where things are taking time and be able to tie that back into partitions. Like the more things we can do like that to make visual representations of this data, the better. We cannot have enough of those tools because it's just the transparency of what's going on in the hood is not there for it. Number 7 is compaction, right? So like, and again, this is like, I don't want to, I'm not blaming anybody for anything that happened, but it was just, it was a real hard, arduous conversation. And because Spotify uses it, seemed to be the answer that I got initially, but like, they built.
Can I get a picture of that slide here?
Yeah. Yeah, go back.
The last
back,
slide?
the previous slide. There you go.
All right, we're good.
And so this one, I'm really excited about this. By the way, I want to see what's going to happen here because that's going to be awesome. So it seemed to be like with the conversation on changing compaction strategies that everyone was like, well, Spotify uses DTCS, so it must work. But like they switched to Bigtable when no one was looking because they're moving to GCE anyway, and the system they did ran on that, and they had a couple of internal systems that were still using DTCS, but they were running Cassandra Reaper to make sure that nothing got behind. So they had continuous repairs running throughout the cluster. And there's like nobody mentioned that point that this was working. And like the idea, it was a great idea, and it was a good stab at initial implementations. Like I'm not faulting that, but what really upset a lot of users out there and what really caused a lot of confusion was that you had huge operators like CrowdStrike, the Weather Channel. What's the big monitoring system? Actually, I don't think I can say the name. Never mind. One of the big monitoring systems out there is Cassandra. Switched over. They're all switching over to TWCS, and they're like, okay. People were New Relic. Thank you. So, like, people posted graph pictures of CPU utilization, and like in my position, it's hard for me to sort of come and say, when I get asked directly by clients, why isn't this in Cassandra source tree? I don't want to use it because it's not, I don't care who else is using it. It's not the source tree. I'm like, I don't know. And that I feel like the conversation just took too long. And that got noticed by a lot of people. That got noticed by end users. And it damaged our reputation. And that's just not anybody's fault, but that's something we need to streamline when this happens again. Is that people see these things and it damages our reputation as a whole. And with compaction, this history strange defaults, they're like, again, when we fall, it's just, it's hard to test. Like this stuff is really hard to test when I get it, but it's one of those things where we just really have to pay attention to this. And something, as soon as we put it out there, it seems weird, we should adjust it quick. And, backwards compatibility is always a trade-off with making adjustments like this, but it needs to be done. STCS and level 0, that lull on the end of there, because that's, shot a lot of people in the foot when they tried to do repair, and that thing was turned on by default. And you end up with a situation like this, like a 500 gig SS table with, just under the default amount of tombstones for tombstone hunting, and it's like, oops, that's a lot of data on disk. Data on disk. Tyler, I'm sorry, but like this killed a couple people, and like it was a good idea, but it just didn't work. And for practice, particularly when DTCS came out doing sort of the same thing. What did work? That is like one of, by far, it was, I think, Robert, did you do that? Robert Stewart? Like somebody poked us in and it was like, it took like an hour or something like that, a couple hours, and it was like, I use this all the time and people love it because I can adjust compaction parameters on a single node and we can test stuff and live workloads and immediately change it back if it doesn't start working. And features like this are super huge. And this needs to be added to Nodule in a way where I can poke the compaction parameters on nodes without having to go through JMX. This is one of the most individually useful features that's come out in the tool set in years, just from on the ground dealing with clients' perspective. Did you do that? Okay, Brandon did that. I can't remember who did it. Somebody was just like, let's do it like this with JSON. And I was like, ta-da. So, it gets another slide because it was so awesome. Like seriously, I can't tell you how much I can go and do like JMX term on a client site, and you poke a compaction parameter, and they see a graph that's having trouble, and just like, boom, and like, that's how I get the hashtag NoSQL Jesus. So I just come in and I just it makes me look magic, and I love it, and I get money on it. So that's it's all for personal gain. But the other side of that, what still sucks, is the visibility and the performance. I've had to recode to figure out what that does or how we got there. From the perspective of compaction throughput with concurrent compactors, then figuring out where that number comes, nobody understands that. There's no clear relationship on a busy system to adjusting compaction throughput to the change in that number. And that number is not really bubbled up anywhere easy to get at. That's a big issue for a lot of people, is understanding how this adjustment got to a certain point in the performance of compaction. Like, nobody gets that. And it's really not visible. That needs to be fixed.
So you're saying it's exposed in the logs but nowhere else, or that it's exposed in the logs in an unintuitive way, or both?
Both. It's exposed in the logs in an unintuitive way. It's not intuitive how this number maps back. How we got 4.18 from the fact that I had 64 megabits a second with my compaction throughput problem. And that number doesn't seem to change in proportion to adjusting compaction throughput problems.
Because of your numbers below it, so you're never.
Because it's
There's no proportional.
No, Nate, I think what happens is that shows the megabytes per second of the output.
Yeah, I know, but like, I know where this comes from. Because
I think that's the problem. You need a room full of committers to figure
exactly.
it out.
Like I have to trace code to be able to explain this, and I built somebody like 4 hours when they're like, I really want to know why this does it. Okay. And like, on the other hand, great. Like I'll bill somebody 4 hours to go recode, but like I shouldn't have to. Like, I'm sort of like taking bread off the table here, but like, it shouldn't be hard. I want more people to use the system because when I first found the system, it saved my ass and made me look good. Earned a bunch of money. So, who knows what I'm doing here? And why I might want to do something like this. So I want to know how much space I'm in the process of cleaning up with compaction right now. Yep. So like, you can't get at that figure anywhere else. Like you can't. And it's, I understand because there's a lot of moving parts there and you have to touch a couple different things to be able to build an in-memory representation of that. But like, that is a super critical operational amount of information you need to have in a system when you're under load and under some duress because you made a bad decision. Like you need that information and it shouldn't take some shell magic to get it. There's another one. What do you think I'm doing there? So again, looking for tombstone compactions, the effect of changing compaction strategies to, go aggressive on the tombstones. I can only get that out of the log by doing compacted 1 SS tables. That's the only, like you can type neutral compact and maybe you'll catch the fleeting tombstone style compaction, but you can't watch that. I mean, you do watch, like that's stupid. For seeing like historical of this. And so there's no other way to get that information. Like I compacted this number of tombstones. There's a couple things like that, but those are the most, I had the script right there, so obviously I do that a lot. Configuration. I get it, it's a distributed system. It's really hard, but at this point, we have enough tribal knowledge to recommend good guidelines for different styles of workloads because we have 5, 6, 7 different patterns that we always see. We should be able to have pre-configured. Like MySQL conf. Who remembers like the small, medium, large, massive, whatever it's called, like that? We need that. Like that's easy. Yeah. I had somebody pay us to do research a couple of months ago on the different memtable tunables in 2.2, the differences between 2.1, 2.2, and 3.0 on memtable tuning and their effects, because the correlation is, I had to trace code, I had to trace a lot of code. For off heap, on heap, why you can do off heap and on heap at the same time. Like again, I get to the point where I understand the technical reasons for doing this, but boy, that's like you just get mad about stuff like this because it's like they don't understand it and it makes them feel stupid. And like that's just, there's too many things competing, too many competing interests there. And again, I don't know what the answer is, but like it's an advanced feature, it's an advanced concept, and it really confuses people. So I don't know what to do there, but that frustrates a lot of people when we have those kind of knobs going off heap, on heap. You can use them at the same time, but variances in their ratios have a lot, and the default is something that is not good for everybody. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. String socket timeout, that took way too long to not be 0. Like this shot a lot of people in the foot all the way up to the most recent 2.1 or 2.0 or 2.1 I think got it. Java sockets by default are infinite timeout. No one really needs that. Anytime we do, we just sort of network connection and should have timeout. That really sort of shocks and angers a lot of people because they have it in configuration files from upgrading their systems, and this is still there. And a lot of people who've been running 1.2, 1.1, 1.0, and it's like 0, and it's like they don't recognize it. Same thing again with compactors and flush riders. It's also sort of hard to tune. These are all sort of in conjunction with each other, but like we know enough about how these systems work now to be able to recommend at least a general case based on the workload. We should definitely do that. I'm not even going to go there because that's that is a dark art and science. And again, but the breaking out the JVM options is a really good idea, but again, I'd like to see JVM options .small, .large, .medium, high write throughput, high read throughput, that type of thing. Adjusting that, and with some deep explanations as to why. Next, replication topology. This is like a box of gremlins waiting to bite your ass because he knows. Because like it's a great technical idea, but like no one understands that. I have not had a client yet understand that. Where 2 nodes down with a replication factor of 3 in the same failure boundary means I don't have quorum to my data. No one gets that. Over repair. It's gotten a lot better, but like people get burned on that all the time. Random allocation. Like it's one of the things like these. again, there's like, I get it. This is very hard problems, but people don't understand, and they don't understand the ramifications of these things. They ask questions. They come to us where we have to give these complex answers, and they're just like, why am I using this system again if it doesn't do this the way I thought it does? And it's hard. The allocate tokens for key spaces, that's awesome. Like, I'd love to see more stuff like that. Which?
Does it work?
I don't know yet. We're actually putting this on a customer system in like 2 weeks. So asking in like 2 weeks. I have precisely one customer on 3.0, by the way, of 90 customers we've had here and there. I have one. And that's the direct result of sort of, sorry, Jonathan, the confusion of TikTok for this. Personally not understood. And I don't know what to tell people. And they're just like, I don't want to use that. I don't understand. I'm like, what do I say to them? They can walk them through it. They're just like, well, so 3.0 is an LTS, but is anybody actually, like, who is in charge of supporting that? Is that going to be the case with 4.0 when that comes out? Is it going to be 4.0 LTS? I'm like, yeah, we don't know. We can't answer its questions. Like, no one's gotten that far yet. I might just put a slide there, but I did. Air no compression. I'm going to turn that off. Well, did this get updated to be DC only or off by default?
DC only.
Okay, did it get updated?
Yeah.
Again, but when we update these configuration settings in the configuration file, we still, like, when you update, like, with any package system, the value's there, it's not going to step on it. So this, it'll be there for years to come because it's been in people's configuration management systems. So, dynamic endpoint snitch, the same thing. We turn this off about 3/4 of the time. I still haven't pinned this down as to quite why, but sometimes when the JVM is pulling the system information from proc, that the machines are different enough that, you have, particularly on faster hardware, hardware's getting faster and faster, you have these differences of, like, load, where a machine loads at 1 on one machine is at 2.1 on another machine, and all of a sudden this translates to like a 0.8% difference in the calculation for dynamic endpoint snitch. And we'll see this on clusters where communications through the roof, and there's just like IOs through the roof, and or not IOs, like kind of idle, and networks doing this, and you turn this off, and now all falls flat. And so I would like to see that back in the configuration file, like get the option with it, comment it out if you want, which is with the dynamic snitch equals false, with the explanation that you may see this problem, and this may be an issue. And that's kind of on me for not submitting a patch. I've had it on my things to do months now, just haven't done. But it's just one of those things that, like, there's a lot of feedback from the community about this. I think that ticket got updated even 2 days ago by somebody. And it's just, we aren't solved it. Join and bootstraps, this is still a crapshoot. I had this fail in 3.06, and we're going to put together an issue in the next couple of days, but a join didn't work out of the box on a new 3.06 cluster. And, like, we're in the process of debugging it, but that's hard to, it's one of those things where, like, that needs to be a better test case for, like, manual testing and stuff before we release things. But, and actually, it's really hard to do that. Like, you actually need to join a node while it's doing compactions, while it's doing active workloads and everything to be able to cluster. It's not a trivial, it's an expensive thing to set up and test to do every time. It's not working. The next one is, and this is, before I get into this is like worlds better than it used to be, by the way. And so Jake, I'm sorry, I love you, but like it's really just hard to get a handle on. Like, and again, I make a lot of money on writing test cases. I'm writing stress tests for people. A lot of money because it's
it is like brutally hard to figure out stress tabs and options. I mean, like
I would say
it's not.
Once you get a handle on it, it's like it's literally one of it's graceful and it does. It's very powerful, but just you can't explain this to people in like a day or two.
Like it takes a job for you. I can explain it to myself.
And like I had a client tell me this.
There's a blog post.
I'm just kidding.
I found this at the top of the stress profile. I think I did this one, but like, there are 4 options in there. I had to check the code to verify you could do that. Like, I'm not gonna tell you which ones they are, but like, I didn't know those options were there. And it like, the more I dug into it, the more I realized you could actually do a ton of stuff with this. Like that, those are huge. And like, I had to spend 4 hours like reading through stuff to understand quite what they did and the interplay with like the rest of the stress test. But like, this is what everybody wants, right? And the same thing with this, like fixed and revisits. I didn't even know that revisit was an option. That's not documented anywhere. So how do you do that make it better? Like, and the graphing, like this is a killer feature because it makes it useful for everybody and their mother, because it's all of a sudden like this, the output of this is on a picture, and you have like great pictures like people have been posting to Jira. That we should lead with that. And that should just be a default. That should just happen, like whether you want it or not, because it's like, oh, look at that. It still doesn't do TTL testing. I hacked this in once or twice just to do TTL variants, but it's so hard to put into the, is that like polymorphic callback handling, I guess you would call that in computer science terms. Like I couldn't figure out a meaningful way to squeeze TTLs in there without destroying a lot of stuff in terms of the way the classes are called and loaded. Again, this is me running under the clock for clients. They're not going to pay me to figure this out. That would be better as the API. I don't know. But like, there's issues. You fix it. But the core is there, and it works great once you grok it, and once you understand what's going on. You can do really powerful things with it that work well. But the problem is that it makes people's workloads opaque, and it makes it hard for them to understand quite what's going to happen in production. And like that needs to get better. The other tools. Syntax irregularity. You like that picture you're old. Patrick knows what I'm talking about.
I love that show.
You know what I'm talking about. So here are all the permutations of no tool with key space and table arguments. And it's it, and Frio still has CF in there on one of the commands. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's fun. This is my favorite though. This is we put a whole new command in there to replace CF stats, and we didn't standardize the syntax. It's still dot versus histograms. No tool compact is like, causality, fun hijinks, because, and like, so you gotta understand from operators' perspective is they don't have an immediate view or may not know to check what the compaction is on the table when they have a standard run book procedure when the system is in a duress for cause X. And they're looking at, well, should I issue manual compaction? From the same tool, you can't go back and get a perspective on what that compaction setting is. And that disconnect, you can say, well, go check CQL. But from the concept of an operator who's maybe, it's 2 a.m. in a big company in a NOC somewhere, and they have a run book that they're following, they don't have the visibility into what is going on under the hood from the same tool suite, from the same context of problem solving. That is a huge issue. This didn't occur to me until the past year, even as somebody who I started my career in operations. And once putting this together, I've seen the same problem over and over again. It's like, of course, they're dealing with the problem when they're looking through a run book. They may not know everything going on the hood. They shouldn't need to. You should be able to see what the compaction strategy is and what the settings are. You'll know if that's a good idea because these do wildly different things depending on what you have going on, particularly now. That said, one of the most immediately useful things that's come out was I can't wait to see this hit. The no tool garbage collect. Like, that's great. Like one of the recent comments on a ticket was, what if there's 1,000 tables? And like, that's fine. Sometimes I get to these oh shit situations where I know I'm going to cause havoc on this one machine, but I need to do it because stuff's falling over. So that's great. And no 2 minus O. Like, I can't wait for it to come out because that makes optimal leveling in LCS and optimal distribution as TCS. Like I understand that's going to make a machine light up in terms of its IO load, but that's exactly what I want to do. It'll give me enough rope to hang myself, basically, because you get these situations where you just need to take evasive action. And what about access table tools? I hadn't really gotten into those very much, but like, people look at those and they're like, it's not even in the same package anymore. You have to get an optional package to put some of these in, and there's some extremely useful stuff there, but it would take me another 2 or 3 slides to do all the different permutations, command line syntax. I use them all the time. They're great from a diagnostic perspective. But users don't get that. And they'll see what they do. It's not readily apparent. It helps sort of copy and paste it, and it's not up there. And no one understands this, particularly in the context of tombstone heavy workloads. It's not understood still. I don't know what the answer is, but like almost every time when somebody's having, performance problems, it's just because of a bad day model, because of tombstones, because of repair. We need more for the coding about workloads that aren't a good fit. About, don't do that. And how do you communicate? Don't do that. I don't know. It needs to be better. Don't do that. Is that just more statistics, like an update to read ratio? I don't know. Last one, repair. And switching the command line options, right? So what? It's default, but it wasn't default, but snapshots. I know a lot of issues with the incremental stuff that, got put out there, and people lose confidence in the system, how it works. It's no one's fault. It's super hard. It's getting consistency in the distributed system. People are still writing papers about that and getting PhDs in the subject. But it's by no means trivial. But I don't know. The monitoring repair status is still alchemy. Things like that. It's I have new sunshine, whatever else in there. Again, visibility of progress is we grab log files. We have scripts to actually sort of try to deduce where you are in repair by looking at the ranges, and use subspace tokens. There's all sorts of things. This is not cool, but John, this is the entire ticket for making incremental repair the default in 3.0, and there's this is the entire string of comments before the page ended. Huge ramifications operationally, and this is just it seems like it's a trivial change. It wasn't a lot going on, and there's just you can't do this. Making a big default change like that.
So let me be defensive here, Nick.
Okay.
Do you want us to leave bad defaults for a long time, or do you want us to change them quickly? Because I got 4 minutes to say
I don't know what the answer is. And I
say you don't have the answer.
So
Yes.
I
Okay.
I guess for this ticket, what's your problem is more that there's not enough information in the ticket.
There's no information in the ticket, but it's one of those things where if we change a default, I don't know how to communicate that to everybody because it's an open source project. And if you change the default, how do you communicate that to people? It's actually a fascinating problem. I don't know.
I assume news.txt is slightly more verbose than just the finally flip the switch.
I don't think so.
I think it's super cool.
I think it's
I don't
a
know.
line. And no one goes that line.
Yeah, but maybe you should.
I don't know.
You can't send them
Yeah, no, I understand. I do understand. I don't know what the answer is. How do you communicate with change the default? We need to. I hear that.
Well, I guess we communicated the upgrading instructions. If you don't read the upgrading instructions, I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah. It's just put it in as many places as you can. Maybe that's the right answer. It's
I guess maybe we should emphasize that you better read the news file before grading, but you cannot assume that you need further to do that.
Or are you saying we should include instructions on how to not use the default? The new default, how to keep it the way it was?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what the answer is. It's just 4 1 sentence comments and
Yeah, I'd say from an operations perspective, like, you're gonna see the upgrade notes and say that it was changed to that, and it's gonna be part of the ticket, you can go look at the ticket and decide if you wanna take the new default, because it's a good idea or it's a bad fit, and you can look at that and go, oh, well, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a separate section in the news, it's like operationally impacting defaults or something.
Well, just a discussion of what motivated the change. You go, well, yeah, that did be good, this is awesome for, oh no, that's actually bad for us.
I don't think repair and treat. You repair, like scheduling repair. Like that makes all the sense in the world to me. So the more of this type of thing we can do, we're like, you have open source projects out there that we're doing this that people, used and loved. And it makes sense to bring it in if it's that crucially meaningful to the health of the system. So that'd be super cool. And that's really the last of it. But again, I just want to emphasize that I don't know what answers are here, and I'm not blaming anybody because this is a sort of compounding of everything we've seen over the years, and the same sort of issues that people are having. Thanks.